You know who I've never talked about much in the Mica Francis case? John Paul Miller's brother, Patrick. That little slippery weasel. I thought for a long time that maybe he didn't have anything to do with John Paul anymore, but I think I was wrong. I think Patrick and John Paul might just be two dippy peas in a pod. I was recently sent this screenshot of a text that John Paul sent to dear old brother Patrick. Supposedly, Micah had punched John Paul in the nose, and the stains on his shirt are allegedly blood from it. Well, if that's the case, she didn't hit him very hard. Noses tend to bleed a lot, and that's not a lot of blood. It looks more like John Paul was eating ribs and forgot to grab a napkin. Patrick's response to that text was this: "No, you gotta get her out. If her license already shows a different address, that would be even more helpful. I would tell cops to remove her. Sooner or later, she's gonna be removed. It's inevitable. Might as well be sooner than later. Plus, it looks bad if she does stay there, and I wouldn't trust her." Well, I do appreciate the laugh react, but then Patrick had to run it with his response. Way to go, Pat. John Paul also sent that pic to his buddy Dan Rahr, and Dan didn't answer him. Maybe he wasn't sure how to tactfully tell John Paul that he's a whiny little wimp. And do I think Micah punched John Paul? No, I don't. I think if she had, he would have been knocked out. There might have been a minor accident, or maybe just John Paul was picking his nose a little too enthusiastically. It could be bleeding from allergies or a cold. Snorting a certain white nasal confectionery can also cause nosebleeds, but I'm sure it wasn't that. It's probably just because he won't stop touching it. His nose revolted. Whatever caused that small amount of blood, John Paul used it to badmouth Micah, and Patrick believed it. And since he was encouraging John Paul to kick out Micah, he must have believed everything else that Moldy Toes told him too. Patrick is a few years younger than John Paul, and in some ways it seems like he is like his big brother. He doesn't have nearly as many traffic tickets as John Paul because no one does. But according to this report, he does have some charges from when he was 6 days shy of being 18. The charges don't appear to have been resolved until he was 20. I'm not going to mention what the charges were because he was young, and I don't have a court record that shows exactly what was involved. The charges aren't on the South Carolina Circuit Court case search page either, and it could be because of his age at the time, but I'm wondering if he got them expunged somehow. I mean, it seems that is the Miller way. Reginald Wayne Miller attended a pretrial program on how not to be an old clammy manho after he was arrested for prostitution so it wouldn't go on his record. And John Paul got a pardon on his assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature, aka attempted murder charge, so he could go buy guns. In her divorce affidavit, Susan Miller wrote about the abuse that Patrick suffered at the hands of Reggie, abuse that included leaving scars and bruises, and once ended with Reggie choking Patrick. Susan wrote that I know he, meaning Reggie, felt bad the next day. Did he, though? Or did he just feel bad that someone saw him do it? It is heartbreaking that Patrick had to go through any of that, so I can understand what might have led to his arrest. The important thing is whether or not he's changed. From the message he sent John Paul, he seems to be firmly in his court. At least he was at the time. But what's he like now? Well, who knows? It is not easy to find information on old Patikins. He has his stuff way locked down. But I do know that he's married to a woman named Kimberly. There are two LinkedIn accounts that are connected to her name, and one of them is a very cute blonde who's a graphic designer. Is that the right Kim? Or is the right Kim the one who's the title manager? Once upon a time, when I first found her, she had her job listed as the title manager for Dick's Pawn Shop. But it was the one in North Myrtle Beach, not the one Micah went to. Now she's erased that from her LinkedIn account and has a different company listed. I thought it was odd that she would erase the Dick's Pawn Shop job instead of just adding her new one to it. But maybe neither Kim is the right Kim. It seems odd to me that Patrick hasn't really been mentioned much in Micah's case. We've heard about their sister Lacey, that she and Micah didn't get along and that Lacey lost custody of her child at some point. But Patrick has stayed hidden. And I have to say that to me, that's a lot more suspect than if he was out there screaming at the top of his lungs to leave his big brother alone. So is he complicit or is he just embarrassed? Thank you so much for being here. I'll be back soon with more Miller musings. Until next time, stay safe and be happy.